Welcome to BBOC Live. It's 10:30 a.m. Eastern on Rivalry Saturday. I'm Mike Calabrese, joined today by Collin Wilson and Josh Nunn, aka Duck. Stuckey started the day with the questionable tag, but unfortunately he is officially out. We can hardly blame him though. He left it all on the field during feast week. Between Collin and Stuck, what do you guys rate? 30,000 words of content for the Action app, more than 10 hours of video content as well. Just a Herculean effort. But how are you holding up, Collin? I want to make sure that you're not worse for the wear here on Turkey Week.
We're doing well. I mean, finished green on a Friday. Today's the big day, though. We find out. I mean, Texas pulls it in for us last night. Over couldn't get there. We had a really hard time getting points to start off, but it's the toughest week because you're making your calls on Monday, and then the games come around 4 or 5 days later. So it makes it one of the toughest weeks. But hey, we're here. We're green heading into Saturday.
And we made it through the holiday, as Will Muschamp like used to say back in the day, at least. Thanksgiving is a meal, it's not a day. What a psycho. Just one of my favorite quotes of all time. Duck, you have obviously been putting in all this work on Feast Week as well. Any favorite moments pop out between college basketball or college football this week?
Well, it's been fun to get in the swing of it here on the hardwood. You and I previewed some of the Feast Week tournaments and had some nice calls there on who was going to end up in the finals. I think it's fun to watch a lot of the stuff come to fruition in the college football realm with regular season win totals finishing up, conference races finally shaking out. We'll know those matchups at the end of the day. It's something I cherish every single second of because you get 14 of these Saturdays every year and then you spend 8 months waiting for it, and it always goes way, way too quick. So the whole journey has been really fun. Feast week has been really a fun week with seeing a lot of the action wall to wall every day, and we're wrapping it up at midnight Eastern time tonight with Hawaii and Wyoming.
There was like a crappy sitcom or at least like a drama on ABC maybe 20 years ago where the guy got the newspaper that was like 2 days ahead of time. Does anyone remember this one? And like he had that much time to be able to alert people about a
The early
natural
edition.
disaster. Early edition. Thank you. If I had a college football early edition and the headline said you can't turn a hoe into a housewife, I would have been a little bit confused, but here we are with Lane Kiffin getting accosted by an on-three reporter, starting to fight with him, outside of the facility. This war of words continues. All of this obviously is the circus surrounding where Lane is going to have his new mailing address, whether that be Gainesville or Baton Rouge, or somehow if he's going to stay in the SIP. I'll kick it to you first, Collin. Do you think there's any chance that he is returning as the Rebs head coach? And the second part of that, if he does take another job in conference, is there any chance that he rides out this playoff run, or is he just out the door starting Monday?
Well, I think he's going. I mean, and that's just coming from pure, straight, old poker nervous system that I have of reading body language. Like you're tearing up after Molly McGrath is asking you if you've made your decision. You said, I just want to enjoy this right now, and you're tearing up. Are you really tearing up because it's that historical that you won 11 games for Ole Miss? Or are you tearing up because you're leaving? And then to track a local on-three beat reporter down and saying, calling me a hoe, and I'm offended by that. If you weren't leaving, you wouldn't care about people chirping in your backyard. So I just think from a pure body language standpoint, he's gone.
Duck, where do you think he lands?
I think we kind of know. Well, I mean, LSU is the place I would guess.
Yeah, I'm going to go LSU as well. I think the only thing that's left to be determined is if he coaches another game for Ole Miss or not. I'd put it less than 10%. I think at this point, he did a good job keeping the locker room together. They obviously had a premium effort in the Egg Bowl. He was, there for his players. They seemed to enjoy it. But moving forward, if you're already getting, a contract signed with another school, I think it's just too difficult to then take it into the playoff. All right, before we get into our best bets, a reminder we'll be dropping the quick slip link in the YouTube chat so you can use those to quickly and easily add to your bet slips along the way. Let's get into it first. Collin, you like a matchup in the Big 12 that's kind of a hold your nose situation, but
Yeah.
Oklahoma State, they certainly have some wind in their sails now. They have their new head coach, they have an interim coach going in this spot, but just some interesting energy at this point for a program that was desperately in need of juice basically this entire fall.
Yeah, they've covered two of their past games. We're going to Oklahoma State plus 13 and a half against Iowa State. Just Iowa State, nothing to play here this year. I mean, four straight consecutive losses in conference really knocked them out of the race. Oklahoma State has covered two straight and kept games extremely low on the total. And that's good for interim coach Doug Meacham here. I think he's going to have them motivated to go. They're still playing for something and still trying to win. Horrible Stillwater weather going on today. 20 miles an hour sustained winds that go sideline to sideline of Boone Pickens. That's going to help keep scoring down. That helps keep a double-digit number here in play for Oklahoma State. And they outgained Kansas State 2 weeks ago. and then, stuff half of the Wildcats' rushing attempts. They're going to be able to stop the ground attack here, but UCF was limited to no methodical drives and 12 offensive possessions last week. Oklahoma State's playing really good defense for their interim coach. I just think there's some positive vibes here. And otherwise, this team was a disaster. Couldn't cover anybody in the middle of the season. Now all of a sudden they've covered two straight in conference. So I think they can pull it off outright if you're getting one to get a little wild in your round robins today.
I'm going to go to the American. I'm going to take a huge number with the Rice Owls catching north of 4 touchdowns over that key number, 28 and a half. And we've been talking a lot about coaching movements. South Florida, obviously with Golish, he's looking for his next job, whatever that may be. If he lands in the SEC, if it's a move that's unforeseen at this point when all the dominoes start falling, but he's clearly not long for this job in Tampa. And by the way, South Florida as well, eliminated from the American title game after Navy and North Texas won on Thanksgiving and Black Friday, respectively. So what exactly are they playing for? This is also one of the craziest weeks of the entire year to keep your head in the game the entire way. Practice schedules are different. Travel is different. You have kids with, traveling to see their family, turning around quickly. In some cases, families coming in. Even in an ideal situation, it can be difficult to keep everybody rowing in the same direction. And now you have a lack of motivation, a head coach out the door, and no opportunity to continue your season, at least in pursuit of a conference title. And when I look at it, Rice is the perfect kind of team to be an underdog in this spot. They can limit possessions with long drives. They're 119th in tempo and 13th in the turnover or the time of possession battle, I should say, on a game by game basis. And you don't have to go that far to look at an option-based attack that really hurt USF, and that was Navy. They gave up 41 points to the midshipmen, 524 yards of total offense. So I don't think Rice is going to get anywhere close to those numbers, but 28 and a half, I think, is a gift at this point. I was surprised once USF was eliminated from conference title contention that this number didn't, move at least below 28. So it's sitting there at 28 and a half. Go ahead and grab it. All right, Duck, going to kick it over to you for a team that you think is drawing dead out in the Mountain West.
I do. Wyoming's team total under 17 and a half. I mean, last game of the regular season, and you just kind of wonder if Wyoming has activated vacation mode here. I don't see any reason for them to be showing up in this game. We've already seen some key participants say that they're not going to play in this game. Chris Durr, their explosive receiver, and their top two running backs are both going to be out. Really going to inhibit an already bad Wyoming offense that has only twice surpassed 21 points in a game this season. They're 131st nationally in yards per pass attempt. Red zone scoring has been a huge issue for the Pokes this year, as has been protecting the quarterback. It's a weak offensive line. It's a weak offensive system. And when I look at Wyoming, if you go through their opponent, kind of the register on who they played this season, they've played one passing attack. That was San Jose State, who shredded Wyoming, scored 28 points, and Egat had almost 300 passing yards with 10 minutes left in the second quarter. And then him and Scutero went out with injury. San Jose State would have put up 63 otherwise. I don't think Wyoming is going to be able to cover this fully equipped Hawaii pass attack. I don't think they'll be able to keep up here. I think Hawaii's a good bet. I don't agree with the steam move down, and I like Wyoming's team total under 17 and a half here.
All right, before we build out our money line parlay here during rivalry week, we're going to toss it over to Stuckey for a quick word from DraftKings.
The Big Bets on Campus podcast is sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook, and in partnership with DraftKings, our listeners get a great offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets, plus 3 months of NBA League Pass. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has you covered. Bet live on star player props and in-progress games right as they happen. To get started, use promo code BBOC when signing up with DraftKings. Again, that's code BBOC when signing up with DraftKings for 3 months of NBA League Pass and $200 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. The crown is yours.
Thanks, Stuck. Now on to our money line parlay. Collin, you're getting kick started in the Mountain West Conference with a team that we've been trying to fade not all that successfully throughout the entire season, and that's UNLV, who's now potentially going to be tied up in a four-way tie. It's a shame that Stuckey's not here. That's really his love language, trying to detangle the tiebreakers for a conference championship. But does that play into the motivation at all? We thought there was a chance that UNLV would have nothing to play for in this game, but you like the Wolfpack at plus 240. Walk me through it.
Yeah, unless somebody at UNLV knows how the BCS formula was put together, that's exactly the formula that's going to be used here with the Harris poll and all that other stuff. to figure out how a four-way tie is going to make teams like Boise figure out if they're hosting even in the game or just being left at home. So we'll I figure that all out by the end of the day. But I mean, UNLV can only get a piece of this and then hope that this computer ranking, vaults them into it. But still, at the end of the day, you have to go up to Sleepy Reno at the top of the state and you have to play a team that doesn't look anything like they have the entire season. Basement team, bottom level Mountain West, and then all of a sudden they show up and they've won two straight, beat Wyoming in Laramie last week, 13-7, and then before that, blew San Jose State out of the water 55-10. Something with Nevada is in the water. They are now playing like a better team in the Mountain West, which we didn't expect. They are top 15 in the nation and creating a pass rush, and that should give Anthony Calandria a lot of scrambling today. It's just a great spot for Nevada, who has made strides in the last few weeks, going up against the UNLV team that, maybe has not really understood that this is going to be a tougher assignment up in Reno with cold weather than just playing at home in a dome, hoping you can make this four-way tie in the Mountain West.
It's been a great year of football in Tennessee, Memphis, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, all quality football teams. But I'm going to go with the Doors here on the road, plus 125 as a money line underdog to the Volunteers. And we talked at the start of the show about some of these coaches. They're all snakes in the grass when it comes to just turning their back on their programs, taking the money, taking a bag, any opportunity they have. And then you have Clark Lee, who I don't know if you saw the video, but when he was extended, they played a video in front of the entire team. He immediately broke down and cried. He said he loved him. It's clear that they all play together. I'm not sure there's a team in the country that has more of a true, authentic us against the world vibe than the Commodores. So from an effort perspective, they're going to lay it all on the line. If they win this game, they still need so much help to make the college football playoff. But I think from a motivation standpoint, you're going to get 60 minutes of hard-nosed football. And then the other piece of it is I get one more opportunity on this show to play Diego Pavia. He can play his way to New York with another big performance. He's accounted for over 1,400 total yards and 14 total touchdowns in just the past 3 games. And when you look at the Volunteers this year, quarterbacks have run on them in terms of, Green from Arkansas, Mateer from Oklahoma, and they passed on them. Stockton went nuts. Cutter Boley from Kentucky as well. Those two quarterbacks combined to go for over 600 yards through the air. Diego can do both. He can run, he can pass. I think they have a puncher's chance in this game. And he's, arguably my favorite person to bet on in the history of college football. So I'm not going to leave this opportunity on the cutting room floor here in week 14. Duck, take us home for a parlay that is going to pay out 23-1 over at DraftKings. What's your leg?
I like Northwestern. I like how they've been playing the last couple of weeks. I think Illinois' defense has let them down and failed them on numerous occasions this season. Never really manifested itself into one of the elite power defenses that we thought maybe they could have done earlier in the offseason. It never quite got there. 122nd in overall defensive success rate, 134th against the pass allowed. Really poor in the red zone defensively all season after they had a stellar 2024 year where the Illini routinely were able to get stops and turnovers in the red zone. Just didn't happen this year. Again, I like how Northwestern has been playing the last couple of weeks. Hung in there with USC until the fourth quarter. Should have beaten Michigan. Played really well last week. This game's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. It's going to be snowy. I certainly give Northwestern a chance in the fourth quarter to be close. They're going to have the best receiver on the field in Griffin Wilde, who had his best game of the season last week. I think he goes off here. I think he keeps Northwestern in it, and I think the Wildcats will have a chance in the fourth quarter to win this game.
Remember, the best number available over at DraftKings, 23-1 for this money line parlay. Now, we've been rolling out some awesome updates to the Action app, and the best way to get the most from the app is by being an Action Pro subscriber. Pro subs can get real-time alerts whenever an expert posts a pick, whether that's Collin, Stuckey, Duck, or myself. So you want to get the best bets at the best numbers. Sign up today with promo code BBOC20 for $20 off an annual subscription. All right, we land now on the marquee matchup of rivalry week, the game, Ohio State and Michigan. This is the 121st meeting between the Buckeyes and Wolverines. Michigan famously has won 4 straight. All 4 wins have come over Ohio State when they were number 2 in the polls. Feels very much like the mid-90s when the Michigan Wolverines knocked off a top 5 Michigan 4 times in a 5-year span, ruined John Cooper's life, basically. And despite their natty last year, it's still hanging over Ryan Day's head. On paper, this has to be all Buckeyes, right, Collin? I mean, do you see a different angle? The talents, the consistency of play. It just seems like this is their moment to finally get over the hump. Is there any other angle that you're seeing?
Well, for the fifth consecutive time, I'm going to take Ohio State in this series. Julian's saying right now, number one in the nation on target rate. That is Sports Info Solutions measurement of how accurate you are. Can you hit your target in stride without them having to move around and change course? Julian Sain's number one quarterback in all of FBS play. That's saying something. And when he has pressure in the pocket, a extremely cool, low 2.3% turnover worthy play rate. He has played wonderful this year, and he dominates cover three and quarters coverage, which he's going to see a lot from the Michigan defense today. And speaking of that Michigan defense, is Ernest Hausmann going to play today? That is a huge, huge piece of that Michigan defense. Leads the team in tackling. He's third in pressures. If he doesn't go, he's been listed as day to day all the way up until this point. If he doesn't go, that's a huge advantage for Ohio State. And then on the other side of the ball, I expect Ohio State's defense to be able to stop the ground attack of a returning Jordan Marshall and Brandon and Bryson Kudzol. They all of the run concepts that they get involved in, Ohio State has completely shut down this year, with the exception of maybe outside zone and a light box. We'll see if Sharon Moore goes to that early, but all indications here on paper say that Ohio State covers this number.
I'm gonna go with an exotic just to spice this up a little bit. I feel like a lot of people are going to be on Ohio State in a variety of ways, whether that's first quarter, first half, full game, waiting for a live spot to bet them. I'm going to go with the correct score of the first quarter. Yes, you heard that right. Ohio State 7, Michigan nothing, plus 440 out in the market. The Buckeyes have shut out 9 opponents in the first quarter this season. Their defense has been absolutely electric. No one's been able to script their way through this Buckeyes defense. The Silver Bullets just shut everybody down in the first 15 minutes. And after some early scripting issues of their own, they've averaged 8.5 points per game in the first quarter since the calendar turned to October, landing on exactly a touchdown, 7 points, 3 times against Minnesota, Penn State, and Rutgers. And what's nice here in terms of, if Ohio State marches it down the field on an opening drive, scores a touchdown, both teams play so slow. The Buckeyes 136 dead last in tempo in the entire country, and Michigan not much faster at 94th. There's a chance if Ohio State opens with a long, methodical drive, 10, 11 plays, that we only see 3 drives in the first quarter. So at anything north of 4-1, this is a play for me on an exact score outcome of 7-0 Buckeyes. Duck, you're also seeing it the same way as Collin. Anything to add with the Buckeyes laying 10?
Well, I mean, that defense is just so nasty for Ohio State. We kind of thought maybe they would take a step back, losing their defensive coordinator and all that production from last year's national championship defense, but they really have done well to reload and maximize what they have from their talent. First in the country in yards per play, fourth in yards per rush, fourth in preventing explosives. I actually kind of think Underwood's season could be deemed as successful for his first year in the chair, but to line up against this defense, I mean, you cannot pass on these guys. Nobody can. Ohio State's only allowing 120 passing yards per game this season. They only have 6 passing touchdowns against them. I don't think Michigan's going to be able to run the football very effectively, so you're going to task Underwood with now having to throw out of third and medium or worse. I just think it's going to be tricky. I think their defense for Michigan will kind of keep them in this game for a little while, but when it's 27-10 deep into the third quarter and Ohio State's driving to put up another one, like we've just seen that script go so many times this year, where a team can keep it close for a quarter or halfway through the second quarter and then a mistake gets made or a big special teams play for Ohio State starts to create some separation. Then they score again, and it's like, well, now you're outside the number. It's 18. How are you going to get back in? And they always just find a way to snowball these teams in the second half. This is really the one thing that Ryan Day has got to be super uber motivated for to get the constituents off of his ass. You cannot go lose this game fifth year in a row. They won the national championship. That got a little bit of heat off of him, but there are some crazy Buckeye fans that would rather win this game than go on a national title run, if you can believe that or not. So they got to win this game. I think they have a crisp performance. I think Michigan keeps this close for a while, but ultimately Ohio State will win this game by more than 10 points.
Yeah, just to ask Texas A&M fans after the loss last night, would a national title, wash away the feeling? Not 100% for them, certainly. One more question for you, Collin. In terms of game flow, you mentioned that if Michigan is one-dimensional and they can't run the football, do you see Bryce Underwood pressing? And if so, would you consider over on an interception prop or maybe even a defensive touchdown for the Buckeyes if he's put in
Oh,
the
wow.
deep end of the pool?
No, I think that is something that is possible, and I would actually bet a Bryce Underwood anytime TD or maybe last TD. I mean, I could see him having to use his legs as the only means of scoring for Michigan here against that rush defense.
All right, on to the D block. That means it's just me and Duck cutting it up on the FCS playoffs. Duck, talk to me about New Hampshire, South Dakota State, the total that you're targeting, and why you're playing under.
Yeah, we've seen so much steam come down on this total. It's going to be absolutely butt cold in Brookings, South Dakota today. Less than 20 degrees. There's 5 to 7 inches of snow on the ground already and continuing throughout the day. It's windy. South Dakota State's quarterback Chase Mason has still not been confirmed back yet for the Jacks. They're going to go run heavy here. New Hampshire's defense has been decent against the run this season in preventing explosives, but SDSU will still get 5 yards of carry on these guys. New Hampshire wants to throw the ball here, but they're not going to be able to do that given the weather elements, and they're going to be unable to pass protect or keep the quarterback upright here. I expect a ton of South Dakota State pressure in the backfield. I expect New Hampshire to have to kind of hang in there and try and run the ball in order to sustain drives. Should see a lot of punting possessions. Again, this weather is going to really affect this game. Absolutely rear end cold. 5 to 10 inches of snow are projected in the area from yesterday to today. And just awful, awful football weather. So it'll be a fun watch in the snow, but there's not going to be a lot of scoring here. So under 40.5, go low.
We got a rare New England FCS playoff matchup between the Central Connecticut State Blue Devils and the Rhode Island Rams. You think that's the Blue Devils? It's a cute story at this point. You just got to hammer URI. Rhodey, biggest little state in the union. They're going to drop the hammer, right?
Yeah, it feels that way. Central Connecticut State has had a pretty decent season, but they do play in a very weak league. Last year's playoff game was a little tighter than expected as Rhode Island's quarterback was unable to go in that one. He's back. He's had a great season throwing for 3,000 yards. I think that Rhode Island will score a ton of points on this Central Connecticut State defense that just is not they're strong for their league, but not strong for any other league. When you look at some of the games that Central Connecticut has played this season, their defense has really struggled to put away bad teams. Rhode Island could score 42, 49 points here, and I don't think that CCSU is going to be able to keep up here. This will be a fun one, but Rhode Island will pull away late.
All right, one more bonus pick. You are a proud former resident of South Dakota, so you got to talk me through what you're seeing here with the Coyotes laying just about 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, they're playing FCS non-scholarship Pioneer Football League participant Drake. Big, significant talent mismatch in the trenches here. A rematch of a game we saw earlier this year where the Yotes led 42 to 7 before taking the fourth quarter off. They won't do that here. LJ Phillips, legitimately talented running back, almost 1,600 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns, will not be contained by Drake in the trenches here. The Yotes are going to dominate the trenches on the defensive side. Drake will not be able to run the football effectively at all in this game. So now you're going to task them with trying to throw out of 3rd and long, 2nd and 12. They're going to have to go 4th and go in order to stay in it. This could snowball rather quickly here. I don't think 3 touchdowns is enough. Lay it with the Yotes. They're going to win this game big at home in the dome, no weather. They play in the Dakota Dome. It's gonna go wonky for Drake pretty quickly here.
Appreciate all of your FCS insights throughout the entire season, Duck. Now we turn to our final best bets here at the Horn. I'll start with you first, Colin. The narrative, at least from a total perspective, is that Miami needs to run it up to impress the committee. They have, an apples to apples comparison opportunity. Notre Dame just played this Pitt team in Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago, won by 22. They need to do better than that just to get closer so that the committee is forced to compare their resumes. And obviously, they have the head-to-head win over the Irish. All that being said, you're going contrarian here. You're going
Yeah.
under, figuring that a Southern team traveling up to the Great White North, playing in colder conditions, that it's going to be a slow start for them this week, and you think under 50.5.
I'm not figuring. I'm banking on it. Like watch Miami in these pinstripe bowls, and they absolutely want nothing to do with playing in cold weather. Well, right now it's 31 degrees, not much wind going on, but still 31 degrees from a bunch of kids that live on South Beach. That's really, really cold. I like Pitt and the under here, but we're going to play, but not only because the weather is cold, but because both these defense should be able to shut down the opposing offenses. Pittsburgh is not allowing anybody to run against them whatsoever, which is going to force Carson Beck to throw. Pitt's numbers as far as creating contested catches and coverage should make this a really tough day for this Miami offense. And then on the other side of the ball, it's about Mason Heinschel. And if Mason Heinschel gets pressure, he usually has a ballooning turnover worthy play rate. There should be pressure here today. Right now, they're 80th in pass blocking, and Miami's second in the nation creating a pass rush. So Heinzel's probably going to make mistakes today. I like Pitt to keep it within the number, potentially upset, because Miami just doesn't show up when it's cold. So I think the defense is run amok in this game, and I like under 50.5, 49. It's steaming down.
This is the time of year in G5 land where there's teams that are in desperate need of one extra win to get to bowl eligibility. One of those out of the Sun Belt is Louisiana. The Raging Cajuns laying 9.5 against in-state rival UL Monroe. And Michael Desormeaux, every single year he's been a head coach, he has taken his UL team to a bowl game. He cares deeply about this stuff. It's the reason why when they started 2-6, nothing was going right for them on this season. They lost Walker Howard, who was supposed to be their star transfer quarterback in the opener. They moved to Lunch Winfield, who, has had his bright spots, but certainly wasn't, leading them to victories earlier in the year. Well, they turned it around, 3 wins in a row. And now they're up against a Warhawk team that is just listless offensively. They don't have all that much to play for other than pride. And since late September, they've been held to single digits 3 times, below 15 points 6 times. So I'm not sure it's going to require all that much from the Raging Cajuns to be able to cover this number below the key number of 10 out there in the market at 9.5 over at DraftKings. And by the way, ULM, when they have faced mobile quarterbacks, they have struggled mightily. Colton Joseph from ODU, Samari Collier from Coastal Carolina, Brad Jackson, all these guys hurt them, found the end zone multiple times. So I think this is a great spot for Lunch Winfield, who has 10 total touchdowns in their last 3 wins and has gone over 100 yards rushing in 4 games this season. So he doesn't even need to be all that accurate downfield. If he just keeps the chains moving with his legs, I think they're going to find the most success they've had offensively, potentially for the entire season. And the other element here, 5 defenders returned from suspension. They had that ugly post-game fight with Texas State. Multiple players suspended for a game. They also had, a member of their secondary kicked out of the program pretty much. His college career is over. They get 5 of those defenders back. I think that's going to add a little bit of juice. And as Duck can attest, ULM's, offense this year has just been a tire fire. There's no savior walking through the door there. So I think Louisiana lays a big number on them here. I would also consider some alternate line, potentially a ladder play up to just about the edge of 3 touchdowns at 20.5. All right, Duck, take us home here with Kansas State laying a big number against another team that doesn't seem to have much to play for.
Yeah, and Kansas State does. Kleiman will want to get them to a bowl game. Just feels like a complete lay down and die spot for Colorado. I think this group's really going to struggle to stop the run. Haven't played a lot of run defense in the last 4 weeks anyway. Let's look at some of the numbers they've given up. 422 rushing yards, 236, 204, and 355. I think we'll see Kansas State run the football all over Colorado. Could average 6, 7, 8 yards per carry on the ground in this game. Colorado 122nd nationally in explosive rush rate given up, 132nd in total yards per rush given up, over 5.5 yards per carry. This is going to be really, really ugly. I think Colorado's waving the white flag on this season. I don't see them showing up with much to play for. This number feels big, but it won't feel big in the middle of the third quarter. Kansas State minus 16.5.
All right, as we close out the show, I'll kick it to you, Collin, real quick. Any team that's, from a futures perspective, you're keeping a close eye on? We saw that near injury to Marcel Reed. I think everybody kind of held their breath. It would have thrown a big monkey wrench into the national title race, certainly the Heisman race as well, if he had, tore his knee up. Luckily, he did not. He returned to that game. But do you have any futures on the table or teams that you're looking to get the best number before we head in to bracket season, once we know the 12 teams that we're working with and heading towards the college football playoff?
Well, in the last couple futures pieces I put out, I've suggested Ole Miss and Oregon because they're going to get 5 to 8, slot in between 5 to 8. They're going to get a home game, and that's better than playing in their conference championship. But as for today, I am not hedging a 40-1 on Southern Miss. I'm going to let it ride against Troy.
How about you, Duck? Any advanced mathematics required, hedging, or doubling down on some of these season-long futures?
Yeah, I really don't try to play the hedge game too terribly much. I entered into the market with a couple of in-season futures on San Diego State. Now that's going to come down to the computer rankings. We've still got our JMU and our Southern Miss futures, so I'm probably going to just let those ride out. Still got the North Texas 22-1 that we talked about on the American Pod way back in July. I did add a future on Notre Dame to win the national title. I thought that was a little bit inaccurately priced, so I did take some 10-1 on them several days back, but. Yeah, I feel okay with the portfolio and with the positions that we have. I'm not looking to hedge out of a lot of this right now.
All right, that's going to do it for BBOC Live during Rivalry Week presented by DraftKings. Much love to my co-host, Collin Wilson, Duck. I'm Mike Calabrese. Thank you so much for tuning in. Best of luck with all your bets today and enjoy all the action. Kicking off in just about an hour with Michigan, Ohio State.